A few days ago, Sayadaw said that in order to put out the fires of raga, dosa, and moha, greed, hatred, and delusion, first of all, one needs to prevent or defend against the fires. One has to prevent fire from breaking out. And when we are protected like this, then we're secure from fire. There's security. That also is something we need. And when there's security, we feel free. And being free is also peaceful. So with this as a base, what is it that happens? Well, we gain happiness. So if the situation arises, where we've prevented the kilesas and we gain security, and we are free, then we will definitely become peaceful and happy. So in order to bring this about, we need to make effort in our practice. When we make effort in the practice, then joy and peace, happiness, naturally arise. We don't need to make a wish, may I get these. We don't need to wish for them. And we also don't need to work specifically to create these states of joy and peace and happiness. They come about naturally through the practice. So Sayadaw would like to say more about this today. Everyone, both oneself and others, want happiness or joy and peace. Everyone is like this in wanting these things. In Pali, joy is called piti. To the extent that joy arises, then happiness, sukha, also arises. People like these. Only if we make effort will we be able to get these. So it said, atapi, that one has to possess ardent effort. One must practice with ardent effort, alertly and briskly. When we sit, we need to apply effort to note every rising, falling, every other arising object when they arise. So in Burmese this is called atot, which if we are to translate it directly, it means to generate energy. You need to try. Literally, you need to generate energy. So one can't just be casual, and one has to disregard life and limb when one goes about the practice. One can't be in fear of getting some disease by doing this practice, or getting some disease and dying of it by doing this practice. This practice, this path, is not the path to death. It's the path to freedom from death. Especially, it's the path to freedom from mental disease. Due to mental disease, we are born again and again through many lifetimes. So we should have faith in this practice. And for joy and happiness to arise, one has to practice intensively. This is the method of satipatthana, to observe every single arising object, to be mindful every second of the time. There's no time to take a break. This is very important. Doing this is protecting ourselves against kilesas. And in protecting the mind, we create security. We also become free of kilesas, and we become peaceful. This is what we do this practice for. Due to application of energy or effort, laziness and other kilesas can't enter one's mind stream, and thus they're dispelled. One doesn't let them in. One doesn't give them a place. Try to apply your mindfulness every second and see. Laziness and all the other kilesas won't come in. What is it that does come into the mind when we do this? Sati, mindfulness. Mindfulness arises and sticks to the arising object. And when we do this many times, this becomes patana, or in combination with sati. Satipatthana is a combination of the word sati and patana. So it means firmly established sati, firmly established mindfulness. And when mindfulness is firmly established, then this quality of rekha in Pali, that means protection, happens naturally. And also another quality that sati has is avarana. That means it blocks things. It blocks things from coming. It keeps things out. So we have protection. We have a blockade against the kilesas. And therefore we have what's called in Pali goti, security. So when there's security, one is free of the tyranny of lobha, dosa, and moha. In each noting, we have 1 moment's worth of protection, 1 moment's worth of security, 1 moment's worth of freedom, liberation. This is called moti or vimoti in Pali. This means that when a likable object arises, we have no need to follow the will of lobha or greed. When a dislikable object arises, we don't follow and give in to anger. Thus we're free of their tyranny, their rulership. And if we're free, then this is peaceful. In Pali, peace is called santi, S-A-N-T-I. So we have security. When the mind is secure, it's free of the disturbance of lobha, greed. Lobha, the movement of greed in the mind, creates heat. And also the movement of dosa in the mind. This type of disturbance doesn't occur when there's security. And thus it's quiet and peaceful. This is the path of the Buddha. For this to occur, ordinary effort is not enough. We need intensive effort. And Sayadaw mentioned previously that the word yogi means one who possesses 3 kinds of yoga or effort. One who possesses the initial effort to begin the practice. And then, when difficulties arise, one increases one's effort to overcome them without thinking about one's life or limb. And thirdly, one after overcoming difficulties, one makes progressive effort in stages to realize one's goal. So one has to go according to this path, according to this path of applying effort. And in doing so, one is following the path of protection, the path of security, the path of freedom and peace. Eventually, as we continue the practice, happiness and joy, piti sukha, arise. Piti and sukha arise. And when these mature, the factor of joy disappears, and there's only sukha, happiness. And when that develops further, the happiness subsides, and there's equanimity or upekkha. This is the ability to meet whatever arises with a balanced mind. It's very peaceful. One isn't shaken by good objects or bad objects. Whatever object arises, one can observe it with an equanimous mind. And sometimes people use the word equilibrium to describe this. So it's the ability to be balanced. If one continues from that point, one will go from the observance of the stream of nama and rupa, the continual stream of nama, mental and physical phenomena that is called pavata, to apavata, the cessation of nama and rupa. And this is guaranteed. So try the practice and see. The pleasure that we get from sense pleasures, this is very common. This is something that we're all really familiar with, and it's old in a way. It's become very old. There's another type of happiness that is better than this. And this is the happiness that comes when one can observe all things with a balanced mind of equanimity. This happiness and peace is better. And there's a path to gain this type of happiness. We have to believe that. We have to believe that there is a path to gain this type of happiness. And to the extent that one follows the path to create protection from kilesas, security, freedom and peace, to the extent one practices, these things come about. See? So one needs to believe this. And knowing this, one has to have the desire to get these benefits. When one knows that these benefits exist and one can get them, then one's mind won't settle for less than getting them. So if one's mind is like that, then one will definitely make the effort required to bring these states about: protection, security, freedom, and peace. At the base of our doing this is the knowledge that is called Kama Sakata Samadeti, the right view of Kama as our property. Because this knowledge doesn't ever disappear from the world, it's called the light of the world. And because it doesn't, it's also called the light of loka. Because loka means world in Pali. Because on the planet Earth, if we have one country where this view exists, and say it disappears from that country, that the understanding will appear somewhere else in the world. Or if it disappears from a certain group of people, it will appear in another group of people. So it doesn't ever completely disappear from the earth. With this as the base, one avoids doing misdeeds because one knows that they will bring bad results. And one undertakes good things because one wants to get the good results. To the extent that one does this, to the extent that one undertakes good things, one will get good results. And also, when one avoids doing misdeeds, one avoids getting bad results. So as Sayadaw said, this path leads to peace. And at the root of it, at the base of this, is this right view of karma, or cause and effect. If we don't understand that doing something good brings good result, and avoiding bad also is good because we avoid the results of that, if we don't believe this at all, or if we don't have very much belief in this, there won't be faith in undertaking this practice. Our faith won't be firm. And therefore, without firm faith, the zeal to get the benefits of the practice won't be strong. And without strong zeal, the effort also won't be strong. With only ordinary effort, without strong effort, we won't be able to get joy or happiness. It's important for the yogis to understand this. We should know that this is the path to protection, security, freedom, and peace. And to the extent that we practice, we will get these. One has to believe that the goals of this path are attainable. If one doesn't believe they're attainable, one won't make the effort one won't have any desire because one thinks they're not possible. Only with this faith that they're attainable will one make the necessary effort. And making effort, the path of protection, security, freedom, and peace, these all will clearly appear. And when they do, one sees, these arose due to the effort that I made. And then faith arises further. It increases. So first, our faith is just based on what we hear. It's just based on what we've studied or heard. But now, when we practice and see the results that are gained through the practice, this faith that we experience is due to what one experiences within oneself. One sees that that inside oneself one has been able to dispel the kilesas. So our faith is at a different level at that point. And then we think, having gained something, we think, if I try more, if I continue this, I can get even better happiness. I can get even better joy. So one boosts one's effort again. To the extent that knowledge occurs, whenever knowledge occurs, one will cherish the practice more and more, and one will desire to practice. Before this occurs, one doesn't see any benefit, and thus one just takes it lightly. One doesn't think that they may think this practice isn't really worthwhile. I'm not getting anything. So one doesn't look at oneself to see what is missing. One doesn't look at oneself to see, my faith isn't strong, or I don't really think I can get this, so I don't feel a lot of zeal to get it. Or, I have zeal, but I'm not applying myself. So these things, one of these things, or all, are missing when people's practice doesn't progress. But one doesn't look at oneself and see that. What happens then is slowly one gets discouraged and depressed. And when one gets to that situation, then it's not easy to boost one's mind back up again, no matter how much the teacher tries to encourage you. So the main thing that Sayadaw is explaining right now is the right view of Kamma Sakata Samaditi. This is like a big junction. And from here, from that junction of understanding that good things bring good results and bad things bring bad results, there are different roads that branch out based on this understanding. So there's, first of all, because of understanding that good things beget good and bad things bring bad results, some people undertake to do dana, just a simple dana, simple morality. They practice generosity or morality just because they know a good result will come, or they listen to Dhamma talks. They do other types of good deeds. And this is called the path of Kamma. So, and then another path that branches out from this right view of Kamma is the path of absorption, where people undertake, they develop the worldly jhanas, worldly absorptions, to suppress the nivaranas, the obstacles to concentration. This is called the path of jhana, or path of absorption. And the yogis who practice satipatthana are following the path of vipassana knowledge, or the vipassana path. So these three paths branch out from that junction of Kamma Sakata Samaditi. So when we do dana, and we give something that we have with because we want other people to be happy. So we try to fulfill the needs of another person by giving them what they need. And doing dana like this brings about materially good situations called bhoga sampatti. It means that we have enough to eat, drink, enough to wear, we have a roof over our heads. So that's what we get from doing dana, and that's about all we get. And then morality brings about bhava sampatti, or fulfillment of our life. That means that the result of keeping morality is that we can be born as a human or be born as a celestial being. And that's about all we can get from sila. So these two, good deeds like simple dana and sila, make up the Kamma path, the path of Kamma. And then, so that is one path that leads out of the junction. And then another path that leads out. Some people, in their minds, they think, sense pleasures are base, they're dirty in a way. So they practice jhana to develop the qualities of vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. And so when one develops these factors, then one gets calm and peace. One gains absorption. With samadhi, the obstacle of sense desire, kamacchanda, is quelled. It's suppressed. And with the jhanic factor of piti, or joy, the nivarana of vyabhada, or anger, is suppressed. With vichara, the quality of the wavering mind, vicikecha, is suppressed. And with vitakka, accurate aiming, then tina meda, sloth and torpor, is suppressed. And with happiness, the qualities of restlessness and remorse are suppressed. So this type of worldly absorption suppresses the nivaranas which block wholesome dhammas. This is called jhana. So this is the path of jhana. And if we develop the first jhana or the second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and so on, according to the jhana that is developed, we gain life in the Brahma world. In the Brahma world, beings live a very long time. So this is the path of jhana. Sayadaw gave the definition of samatha, that it quells the opposing factors. And the factors of, for example, kama, chanda, nivarana, when the mind is overcome by sense desire, the mind becomes worn out by that. And anger, too, is a factor. It makes the mind coarse and brittle. The mind becomes worn out. And the quality of vicikiccha, when one thinks about cause and effect, for example, one wavers, one's indecisive. So this quality of doubt also makes the mind, it makes the mind, sorry, I wrote something in Burmese. It makes the mind feel worn out or withered. So if we don't have some way to overcome these factors of sense desire, anger, skeptical doubt, sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse, then all our waking moments will be caught up in these kilesas. So one who practices the path of jhana, they apply aim to observe the object, and joy arises, and also the state of tranquility, passaddhi, and one-pointedness of mind, ekaggata, or concentration. So the factors that make up the jhana, vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata, come to be, and other factors are also involved. So one can develop first jhana or second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. So depending on whatever jhana is developed, the nivaranas, the obstacles to concentration and to kusala, are suppressed. So the mind is clean. The mind is clean when jhana is occurring. And this clean mind lasts a long, long time. The state that is created when we develop jhana lasts a very long time. And if one dies with that jhanic mind state, then one reaches the Brahma world, where the beings all experience the jhanas all the time. So this comes about by quelling the nivaranas, the obstacles, the qualities that make the mind rotten, that make the mind feel worn out and tired. So this jhana is similar to the mind that is preserved by jhana is like food that is preserved in a refrigerator. If we put something that could rot overnight or go bad overnight in the refrigerator, because of the cold of the refrigerator, that food might last a week or it might last 2 weeks. So when something is refrigerated, the things that have the potential for going bad in that piece of food or whatever it is, the potential for rotting is suppressed. It's, as long as it's under the refrigeration for a certain period of time, the food won't go bad. And it's similar to the mind that is influenced by the momentum of samatha, or concentration practice. And another example is the method of freezing things called cryogenics. So when things are preserved using cryogenic techniques, then the movement of the molecules within that organ or whatever it is, tissue, the movement of molecules becomes very, very slow. And thus, things that would perish quite quickly are able to be preserved for a long time. And this is very evident how the use of extreme cold, I don't know how low the temperature has to be, but the use of extreme cold makes it possible to preserve all sorts of things, including organs that are waiting for transplant. So otherwise these things would perish quickly. This is because the movement of the molecules becomes very slow. So what this is like when we practice jhana, the kilesas are suppressed. Their movement is stopped. It's like the molecules in the piece of thing that is being preserved with cryogenics. With jhana, the kilesas are suppressed. They're not able to move due to the momentum of the jhana. And through the momentum of jhana, or absorption, one reaches a world where beings live a very long time, similar to the jhanic state. Their lifetimes go on for a very long time, and they don't suffer from heat or cold. But because the jhanic path is not the path that leads to development of knowledge, starting with the discernment of nama and rupa, or mind and matter, when beings die and leave the Brahma world, they can go to a lower existence. They can even go to the apaya realms. They can go to the human realms and so on. So because knowledge hasn't been developed, so the path to true peace is the path that the yogis are now practicing. This path guarantees that one's life will become uplifted and not go down. So the three paths that Sayadawji's described today, the path of jhana, the path of kamma, and the path of vipassana, they all stem from this junction of the knowledge of kamma as one's own property. And thus this knowledge, which is like a junction, is very important. Without this, one won't do any type of good, such as giving or keep morality. One won't try to dispel the nivaranas with jhanic absorption. And one won't try to develop the practice of satipatthana to gain true peace. Sayadawji will continue this topic tomorrow night. That's all for today.